What happens when the guys we grew up admiring, our TV stars, movie stars, and top-charting voices, start subtly changing their faces behind the scenes? Most famously, David Bromstad is the lively, charismatic host of My Lottery Dream Home, captivating viewers with his contagious personality, extravagant attire, and unique sense of style. However, beneath his brilliant grin is a journey characterized by profound individual struggles, traumatic experiences, fortitude, and final metamorphosis. David was born into a traditional Scandinavian-American family in the small Minnesotan town of Chicago, and his early years were difficult. In a society where traditional values predominated, he stood out for his expressive personality, artistic zeal, and compassionate manner. He experienced constant bullying from an early age, especially in high school, when discrimination against LGBTQ+ people was still mostly uncontested. During lunch, more than 600 students launched a horrifying coordinated attack on him, which was one of the most painful events of his adolescence. Even more tragic is the fact that the principal of the school took part, probably not realizing the serious damage done. This incident, which David would later characterize as daylight hell, ingrained itself in his memory. With no adult to step in and no safe havens or networks of support, David retreated inside himself, causing emotional scars that would take years to mend. In his 20s, he struggled. Chronic depression, struggling for survival rather than for aspirations or inquiry as many people do. It was in this time of loneliness that David found solace in art. His lifeblood, a silent language that helped him process sorrow and start to re-establish his sense of self, was drawing, coloring, and designing. His characteristic vivid colors and flamboyant designs were a result of necessity rather than artistic enjoyment. Every design was an act of rebellion, a hopeful message emerging from gloom. These early artistic endeavors set the stage for a profession that would eventually benefit millions of people. After graduating from Florida's Ringling College of Art and Design, David's first desire was to work as an animator for Disney. He secured a highly sought-after job at Disney, where he worked in a setting that required both creativity and accuracy. However, this ideal was dashed when widespread layoffs were brought on by economic downturns. David also lost his job. A career wasn't the only thing lost. It destroyed the identity he had fought so hard to build. Challenging to construct. He was emotionally and financially exhausted and found it difficult to reorganize. However, in keeping with his character, David changed course and applied his abilities to interior design. He started by fusing storytelling with creative flair to create amusing, artistic bedrooms for kids. Although it wasn't immediately profitable, it continued to advance both emotionally and creatively. When a friend urged him to try out for HGTV's brand new reality show, Design Star, in 2006, everything changed. The program sought after designers with a distinctive voice and charisma on camera. David was abundant in both of these things. He entered the competition with low expectations. However, as the weeks went by, both judges and fans were won over by his audacious designs, genuineness, and effortless on-screen persona. David gained a new lease on life after winning the first season. He was given a solo show on HGTV called Color Splash, which debuted in 2007 and attracted a loyal following right away. Every episode served as a blank canvas for his vibrant, passionate approach. He wasn't limited to changing rooms. In the same way that design had cured him, he was using color to tell tales and bring happiness and healing to others. When David started hosting My Lottery Dream Home in 2015, a show in which he assists lottery winners in finding their dream homes, he achieved a new professional high. His humor, sensitivity, and capacity to make guests feel genuinely seen immediately struck a chord with viewers. However, an unforeseen catastrophe threatened to shatter his meticulously constructed image at the height of his success. His previous Jeffrey Glassow, a longtime business associate and partner, accused David in a widely reported lawsuit in Florida of breaking their long-term partnership and squandering money on parties, drugs, and male prostitutes. The issue swiftly swept across tabloid media, raising questions about the upbeat image that the public had grown to love. David made the unexpected decision to not reply in public. No interviews, social media explanations, or denials were made. Rather, he let the legal system handle it. Of course. A Miami-Dade judge dismissed the case in April 2016 after finding the allegations to be unfounded and unsupported. In addition to the charges being dropped, Glasgow was mandated to reimburse David's legal costs for misusing the legal system. David only indirectly broke his quiet once, when he shared a quotation about the value of timely silence on Instagram. Instead of harming his reputation, that quiet poise showed a guy of great integrity who recognized that some things don't need to be yelled at. Heard. A more private situation quickly ensued, despite the case being a public experience. David's father was admitted to the hospital during that time due to severe cardiac issues. Concerned about the possibility of seizures or stroke, doctors kept a close eye on his dangerously elevated heart rate and erratic heartbeat. In an emotional Facebook message, David broke the news, giving fans an unvarnished glimpse of the anguish of witnessing a loved one's suffering. Greg Girard, one of David's best friends, experienced a brain hemorrhage at about the same time. He was in critical condition as a result. As a ferocious supporter, David visited during his recuperation, raised money for his medical bills, and kept supporters informed of his condition at all times. Following these consecutive events, David was compelled to withdraw from public life and concentrate on providing care and emotional stability. David handled his personal issues by being present rather than performing. In order to be totally present for the people he loved, he stopped making public appearances and stopped using social media. There were silent dedication and steadfast loyalty instead of grandiose displays. This difficult time served as a springboard for introspection and self-discovery. After years of public pressure, mental turmoil, and continual reinvention, David sought a vacation to refocus. Fans observed his decreased online engagement, even though he continued to appear on television with his typical charm. David didn't return to Instagram until 2023, but he did so in a different tone. His content wasn't advertising or dazzling. They were calm, reflective, and intensely intimate. In one picture, following a strenuous trek, he was seen atop a Rheinebringen in Norway. David quietly acknowledged the challenging path he had traveled by writing about healing, clarity, and presence in the caption. There were other posts that highlighted common pleasures: walking his pets, cooking, decorating, and gardening. This change was obvious. David had given up trying to stand apart. He was just living. He became more relatable than before as a result. His social media usage changed from transmitting in order to establish a connection, and instead of losing popularity throughout that change, he increased it. David's acquisition of his ideal home in Winter Park, Florida, marked a sea change in his life. His tale is physically represented by the house, which is roomy, vibrant, and full of unique details. His hard-won freedom and joy are reflected in every aspect of the decor. Like its designer, the design is aggressive but well-considered. His home serves as both his residence and the setting for his story. As David has broadened his creative horizons. In an HGTV interview, he once stated, his style and wardrobe choices change daily based on his mood. For him, fashion, like design, is a tool for emotional and spiritual self-expression. His evolving hairstyles, eclectic prints, and daring combinations aren't for show. They're affirmations of identity and freedom. He started a design company that sells art prints, furniture, and accessories. Every piece reflects his own style. The focus of his brand is not observing patterns. It's about honoring uniqueness. People should feel that their home is a reflection of who they are, in my opinion. He claimed that this philosophy still directs his work on all platforms. In addition to his commercial pursuits, David has placed a strong emphasis on his physical and mental health. He regularly reveals his exercise routines and mood regulation techniques, inspiring supporters who see in him more than just a famous person but a genuine, everyday guy. While in Paris in 2021, David got to know Nicolas Martin, a. He will partner with a French massage therapist. Their modest bond has grown to be another source of happiness and harmony in David's life. The two frequently share unguarded photos from their time together, cooking, exploring, and laughing, not for attention, but to honor relationships. It's another indication of David's development, going from wanting to be accepted to actually becoming it. David is concentrating on even more significant and intimate endeavors in the future. He has revealed his intentions to write a book focused on sincerity and self-expression. Additionally, he hopes to produce digital material that inspires the next generation to live authentically and fearlessly. David makes it plain in both his words and deeds. Of all the design projects, the journey to oneself is the most exquisite. His presence, rather than his perfection, is what inspires people today. He is no longer merely a designer or TV host. He is a resilient role model. He has never shied away from the difficult periods in his history or downplayed the sorrow. Rather, he has transformed them into the starting point of anything remarkable. He can command attention without raising his voice. His honesty, silent power, and striking artistic ability are powerful. By leading such an unrepentant life, he encourages others to follow suit. David Bromstad exemplifies what it means to be truly brilliant, whether it be through a passionate post, a burst of color, or a quiet stance for truth. Beyond his well-maintained public persona, David's life is still developing in layers that reveal a deep path of self-discovery. His choice to one of the most brave turns in his career was his decision to withdraw from the spotlight after years of unrelenting personal and professional upheaval in 2015 and 2016. It would have been simple to quickly jump into the next major project with the same self-assured arrogance he initially demonstrated on television, or to resume media appearances without addressing his inner state. He opted for something much more uncommon instead, pausing, slowing down, and paying attention to his inner voice. There were no headlines during that period of introspection, yet it influenced the man he would grow up to be. The result of that more subdued stage is a person who is more focused on essence than accomplishment. The thrill of metamorphosis, the cheers of studio audiences, and the clicks of cameras all blended into a deeper symphony of existence. He learned that a life that has been meticulously planned isn't always one that is worthwhile. The way David started sharing his world with fans once he returned to Instagram may be the clearest example of that realization. In 2023, his posts now feel less like advertisements from a public persona and more like rooftop chats with an old buddy. He spoke on achieving equilibrium, appreciating the little things in life, and respecting the everyday cycles of existence. He reflected on the day's taste in a recent article, which included a morning spent preparing coffee, sketching up a home decor project, mowing his garden, and organizing his dinner menu. On the surface, it can seem uninteresting, yet this isn't a boring life. It's a life living with purpose. The comments is frank. He wrote, "Days like these anchor me. Art is no longer limited to television sets or rooms with vibrant colors. Living is a simple act that incorporates it." This philosophy is demonstrated by David's house in Florida. In addition to being purposefully designed, each area seems inhabited, cherished, and changing. Brushstrokes from his most recent creative endeavor are still visible on a table. An old bookcase from years of reading before bed. It has been claimed by a cat curling on a corner rug. These, even minor flaws, are not errors. In contrast to the frequently antiseptic beauty found in glossy design publications, these are the fingerprints of a life being lived truly. David's house is a daily manifestation of his sense of self, personal preference, and emotional connection. Frame sketches, an early version of color arrangement plans he made while working as a Disney animator, are shown on one wall of the passageway. A separate area is devoted to commissioning artwork from friends that is based on a narrative. In this manner, the interior is more than just vibrant. It is relational and historical. It is as much about his colorful palette as it is about the individuals who have shaped him. As a matter of fact, David stresses the spirit of relational creation in all that he does. Every design decision is a dialogue between spontaneity and structure, background and presence, and color and emotion. That very attitude is driving the evolution of David's interior design business today. His useful decor collection, which includes art prints, furniture, and ornamental items, are sold under his own name rather than a generic one. Every object has a brief story to go with it. Rise, a throw pillow, is a morning glow that makes you feel better. Embark, a desk lamp, serves as a reminder that all projects begin with curiosity. Bloom, a canvas print, honors gradual development. It's more than just marketing. It's narrative through artifacts with emotional resonance and psychological depth. Not every house decor is being taken by buyers. They're purchasing emotional support for themselves. David's creative focus is still firmly on design as a means of connection, even while his business endeavors thrive. He began working with private customers who wanted mood boards that were more than just pretty. They seek for settings that facilitate their transformation, celebration, healing, or reset. Working with a young couple who were recuperating for months following major surgery was the subject of a recent commission. They included David's spaces into their recovery. Calm hue, gradients in their bedroom, cheerful kitchen colors, and comfortable textures to promote relaxation and recuperation. He wrote a number of blog entries reflecting on designer therapy that detailed the endeavor. Online, the series struck a deep chord, garnering favorable feedback from wellness advocates as well as the design community. It was more than just a job to David. It had a purpose. For him, this approach to using creativity to heal is nothing new. It is reminiscent of how he turned color and design from a haven to a profession over 2 decades in the past. He uses the same paint, fabric, and form as his tools. The goal is now more specific though. He is aware that surroundings have an emotional impact. A happy palette is uplifting. A well-designed layout can calm. A well-balanced lighting design can take center stage. Without using jargon, his work has connected emotional science with interiors. Rather, it is based on experience, intuition, and a silent faith in the potential of honest space design. This sense of purpose also applies to how he guides up-and-coming social media designers. He has started posting process films that explore technique, decision-making, and project anxiety rather than presenting ostentatious revelations. Young artists have even been invited to attend week-long design courses at his studio in Florida. He guides them through the entire design concept, sketching, sourcing, and delaying process there while openly discussing issues like failure, self-doubt, and remaining true to oneself. He has revitalized a back-to-basics mentality in a world where Instagram feeds are dominated by picture-perfect content. It takes time to create a real design. Iteration, error, and thought. He said to one workshop group, "If the work doesn't scare you, you're not being honest with yourself," and it stuck. The goal of these sessions is to support a design movement that prioritizes emotional resonance over aesthetic innovation. David, meanwhile, has changed in a similar way on My Lottery Dream House. His warmth and fun are still beloved by viewers, but his relationships now have a deeper level of complexity. Rather than only assisting lottery winners in selecting homes, he looks into their aspirations, ideals, and hopes. He encourages them to share their favorite childhood memories, colors that remind them of home, and customs they would like to establish. He examines blueprint drawings for emotional flow in addition to functionality. How a family could chuckle over breakfast. How a reading nook could provide privacy for a writer. How a little afternoon sunshine can cheer you up. The end effect is more human and less transactional. Although the show's ratings are still strong, the current tone is deeper, appreciative, introspective, and nuanced. David's professional insights are still entwined with his personal life. His long-term relationship with French massage therapist Nicolas Martin, whom he first met in Paris in 2021, has developed in a tranquil rather than a glamorous way. Most of the time, they dwell in silence. To help David deal with stress, Nicolas teaches him deep tissue therapy and somatic breathing techniques. In order to make their shared area feel nourishing, David assists Nicolas with layout and lighting. When combined, they produce a nightly strolls around the lake in their neighborhood. Just flow and talk, no phones. David recently spoke about a relationship, describing it as a haven of calm where he is viewed as himself rather than as a TV personality or designer. The fast-paced, high-stakes world of television and public scrutiny stands in sharp contrast to their existence together. It is a counterweight on purpose. Nicolas dressed subdued for home, but David dresses bright for the camera. This dynamic reflects David's more profound instruction. It's not necessary for life to be all retreat or all performance. It can be a delicate dance that is well lived by both. That tension turns into a kind of balance. David is expanding this dance into more artistic mediums in the future. He has started writing a memoir tentatively called Shades of Self, which alternates between emotional observations and highlights from his career. It's a reflection on how design influenced his life, how pain influenced his art, and how living colorfully is ultimately an art form rather than a tell-all scandal book. A loving act. Additionally, he is working with a tiny mental health startup to develop a series of color visualization-based guided meditations that help people fall asleep. One track invites you to visualize descending into a peach and sage woodland, while another invites you to inhale a soothing lavender limbic resonance. It's wall-free design therapy. All of this suggests a day when David's influence will be gauged by hearts softer and souls more stable, rather than just by remodeled homes or TV shows viewed. For someone who used to carry, he was almost unable to identify the emotional scars, which is a deeper form of success than accolades. And he gratefully accepts it, appreciating each difficult journey that led him to this point. He claims he initially believed success would feel like applause. When asked what motivates him now, David frequently cites a Greek word, eudaimonia, a state of flourishing rooted in virtue and purpose rather than fleeting pleasure. Indeed, he is surrounded by applause. The life he values most, however, is lived rather than done. A life where love serves as the foundation and intention as the architect. It seems like the David Bromstad of 2025 is at peace. He has learned to construct with both light and shade, using vulnerability as texture and memory as color, not because his life is flawless or because the agony of the past has been forgotten. He bears witness to a basic principle in his work, his home, and his love. Honesty is the most beautiful design. Your real story is more powerful when it is spoken than when it is kept hidden. His is now a multi-layered story. Depths. It involves both stillness and audacity. Color is important, but so is serenity. It's about loving who you were before you felt humiliated. Finding a road when none appeared possible is what it's all about. Even when your heels are still shaking, it's about standing in the light. Please leave a comment if this story touched you. Whose change caught you off guard the most? For more in-depth explorations of the hidden facets of celebrities' lives, where the truth is frequently weirder, click the subscribe button. More realistic than fiction.